Right, have you ever asked for help from a guide, a loved one, an ancestor, angels, gods or goddesses, and they haven't come through? A lot of people ask that question. In fact, quite a few years ago, one of my earliest students was a Catholic Roman woman who came and she had asked me, how come when I ask for angelic help or from Jesus, when there was a demon, for example, which is just another word for dimensional being, by the way, how come when I ask for those people, it didn't work and it didn't come? Well, I'm going to go into that. Now, there's a couple of reasons why. Sometimes if you are trying to talk to your guides, your angels, whoever, and they don't come through, there's a few reasons. So number one reason why they wouldn't come through, your ancestors, whoever, is because you might be an ask hole. Ask yourself whether or not you're one of those people. Are you an ask hole? And what I mean by that is, are you somebody who asks for help from these beings, these guides, these angels, these ancestors, but you don't have a relationship with them? Think of the person who irks you the most, who only contacts you when they want something. Okay, now that person is not somebody that you enjoy talking to. Eventually, you get quite sick of it because they don't even ask you how you are. Right, so that may be one of the reasons. I'm not saying that that's the reason for you, but sometimes that's the case. It's because they want a relationship together with you and they want connection with you. So only ever calling on them when you're asking for something, rather than spending time in honouring and connecting and bringing them into your day-to-day life. It creates a separation and a distance between yourself and the people that you're talking to or that you're asking for help from. What I would suggest is that you try and form some sort of ritual, honour, routine, acknowledgement, where you're creating a relationship, a foundation. Not necessarily saying, hey, how are you, like we do in the human world, but in another way. Get to know them, talk to them more, have a connection, have a catch up. So that might be through your work in the garden, and when you're in the garden, you might be calling on your ancestors and connecting with their knowledge and sharing the healing between yourself and them and the medicine of the earth. Or it might be in meditation state, where you're calling your spirit guides and the angels or the gods or the goddesses, and you bring them in and you talk to them regularly. So that might be number one reason why they might not come and help you when you've asked for their help. For me, one of my more recent guides that has come through is a new protector guide. And my new protector guide is Shiva, the god Shiva. And it took me a while to realize who he was. I just hadn't recognized that the person that he was showing me as was who he is. And I finally figured out that my protector guide, my spirit guide, who is my protector, he helps me learn different ways and do different things for protection. He had come through, and so I felt sort of disconnected with him. I didn't know how to build the connection with him because there's very much a theme of detachment with Shiva. So I asked him, how can I honor you more? How can I respect you more? How can I show you those things so that I can feel closer to your resonance and communication and energy? Now, he showed me two things. Number one was that I have been spending too much time on my phone. I had been connecting on my phone with the people that I love and the people who are distant from me, who are in different parts of the world, and I had been spending too much time on my phone connecting with those people. So number one was put the phone down and stop actually talking to all those people, because you're taking all your attention away from that. That's why you're not talking with your guides so much anymore. Makes sense. And number two was for me to look at the book of Shiva and to look at the principles around that sort of cultural, religious side of things, and look at the 6 base emotions and to work on those 6 base emotions. So that is how I can connect more with Shiva. When I think of a god or a goddess, the first thing that comes to mind is ritual. Like, how can I create ritual to invoke this person and spend time with them to get to know them, whether that's through plants or burying things or whatever that person's associated with. You'll spend time in those actions and create the connection and empower the relationship between the two of you. So I was like, how do I honor you? How do I ritualize what we do here? So I just asked him, and he told me. Now I know. Okay? So that's the little story. Now, asking for help, when it comes to any of the above, your spirit guides, gods, goddesses, angels, ancestors, another thing that may be preventing them from coming through is actually your belief. So if we don't fully believe, and taking it back to that student at the beginning, she had asked, why did they not come through? Your belief plays a massive part in your relationship to the deities, to your spiritual community, because that's what all of them are. They're part of our community. We're just in a different dimensional space. If you don't believe that that person is there, if you don't believe that their love is shining down on you, that their protection is there, or that they are connected, that belief is going to completely, disconnect it if you don't have any. So in the case of this student, what Spirit had shown me was that her mind was in too much fear. And the fear was overriding the belief system. So you need to have more faith and more authority in your belief than in your fear for the spirit realm to direct itself completely and fully. One thing I've found with demons, multi-dimensional beings, is the other word, multi-dimensional beings or interdimensional beings. One thing I've found with them is actually if you ask in a very calm voice, can you please leave me alone? That's it. Just can you please leave me alone? And mean it, and not be afraid, and just say, please go away. They do. It's so simple. It's crazy simple, but it works. It doesn't work for all of them. Depends on what type of being you're working with there. But demons, yeah, just ask them, can you please leave me alone? Anyway, carry on. Now, the third reason that some of these people or spirits may not communicate and may not come forward if you've asked for them is because you may have a lesson involved. Now, if you're asking for healing and they don't come through and they help, or you're asking for protection and they don't come through and help, it may be because the lesson here is about you and your autonomy, that you need to learn the lessons involved with the healing practice or with the belief practice or the conditioning. There might be some sort of lesson that needs to be addressed within you before it will happen. So for me, I had always been told if you ask for your guides, if you ask for your protector, they will always come through. So I've always taught that, even though for me, for over 10 years, every single time I asked my guide to help me, they would only come through for 2 seconds and then they would disappear. The reason that they did that for me was because early on and during my life contract that I had, it was in my spiritual soul contract that I had to do everything myself. I wasn't allowed to use crystals, not in healing work. I was allowed to use them on myself, but I wasn't allowed to use them on others because they said it was cheating. So I had to learn every single aspect of the spiritual dimension the hard way, because I had to be very resilient and very strong and very independent and resilient. Now the tables have turned. I can ask for help. I can ask for my spirit guides and my protector or my healing guide, and they come through and they help me. So this is really cool for me, because now I get to join the rest of you and find out what it feels like to ask for help and they come. It's fantastic. So that lesson, it may be something to do with your self-reliance or discernment. When I say that they will still come, during those 10 years or however long it was for me, when I did ask them to come, they did come, but it was only for 2 seconds, and then they'd bugger off and say, no, you have to do it yourself. So all in all, how do we change those sort of situations? Well, number one, we're going to make sure that we're creating a relationship and a connection. Base your relationships off of reciprocity. Don't just be an asshole. Don't just ask spirit to do stuff for you all the time and have nothing to give back, or, no connection, no catch-ups. Don't do that. Number two is your belief. Make sure that you are believing in the world that you're creating. Believe in the deities or angels or spirit guides, whoever. Believe in them more than your fear. Override that fear and just keep going. Fake it till you make it does wonders, okay? And number three is maybe there's a lesson involved. So if you bring all of those things back together, if you're asking for help with spirit, make sure that we incorporate all of those things, discerning whether or not this is something that you have to push through and go beyond the struggles and go beyond the barriers to find a lesson, to incorporate it and embody it. Maybe they want you to embody it. Now, one last story that I'll tell you around belief and I guess that lesson of change and transformation and connection was I went through a period of having only angels as my guides. All of my spirit guides left, so I didn't have different dimensional beings. I had angels, they're a dimensional being, but anyway, all of my guides left, and I only had angels left. Now, this was probably 7 or 8 years ago. Relative. And when that happened, I was beside myself. Number one, I was beside myself because my spirit guides left me and didn't say goodbye, and I didn't know what happened. And number two was that I did not have a close relationship with the angelic realm. I sort of had those old prejudice towards it all. And every time I would talk to the angels, who were now my guides, they would stand about 3 meters away from me, and it pissed me off something chronic. Because normally, when I would talk to spirit, it was telepathic, it was close, it was here. They would stand behind me or they would stand next to me. And everything was intimate, everything was close, everything was internal. Now, when the angels showed up and they became my guides as my team, they would stand 2 to 3 meters away from me, and I hated it. I was like, why are you all the way over there? Because one, it was a change, and two, to me, it felt very distant. I was used to having this beautifully close and intimate relationship. And what I had to learn, the lesson that was involved for me in the communicating with these new guides and angelic team, was that I had to come closer to the angel's realm and to their energies. And of course, because I didn't accept them, they were standing 3 meters away from me. So it was a little bit touch and go at first, but after maybe a few months or a few weeks, we managed to break through that barrier. I learned the lesson of closeness in that particular dimensional space, and to be honest, it was one of the best times of my life hanging out with those guys and the stuff that I learned. So that was very cool. But I digress a little, and here we are. We're going to come back now. So if you want to ensure that your relationships, there's so many flies here lately. If you want a relationship with your guides, ancestors, gods, goddesses, make sure you're reciprocating. Do something that is going to bring them closer into your world. Think about the lessons that might be blocking you if they aren't coming through, because that belief one, that's going to be the biggest one that creates distance between you and them showing up. They're still there, you just can't see them and feel them. So break through the barriers. Make sure that you believe it bigger, more than your questioning and analysis and all the rest of it. And trust me, once you find that opening in yourself, in your higher sort of connection and connection to source, when you break through that, they will always come. They will show you those things. Before I go, I'm good at that. Before I go, one of the reasons why when you call a family member and you want to talk to a family member, one of the reasons that they may not come is because they're busy, okay? So some people think it's because of them, and it's not. When we move into the different dimension, I won't go into this because it's a whole nother conversation in itself. But when we go into the next place, after a certain amount of time, we're busy. The door is closed and they're off doing other stuff. Or maybe sometimes it's just not the right timing. That might be another reason why your family members or somebody else's family members might not come through, is because they're busy. They're doing some stuff upstairs. They can't be bothered right now. They're working, all right? They're working, they can't answer the phone. That's all it is. All right. Hopefully this has answered some questions, if you had any, about asking for help, connecting to gods, goddesses, family, ancestors, angels, and yeah. All right. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask, and if I can, I'll get back to them in another video. See you later.